Gothix.
And I get down on my knees and thank God for giving me the day. Promise it won't be a waste, no. Ain't y'all sick of being fake? God is giving me a way. Consequence of being grateful. Her bad, it was deep in my soul. Now it's hard to feel sad when I'm reaching my goals. And I'll let you finish, wait. I'ma make them hear me say, I'm here at the VMA show. Life is a blessing, I hated to wake up. I'm out of depression. Look at what faith does. Learning my lesson. Youth of the nation. Now I'm accepting the truth I'm ashamed of. Know my purpose, but no one is perfect. Bend to the bottom, lower than dirt is. I've been in the water, float to the surface. No matter the offer, my soul ain't for purchase. You know what the worst is? Sitting in churches, paying a preacher, cause he can interpret. Looking for Jesus, you need to keep searching. It's a bit deeper than deacons and sermons. Even a serpent, Egypt and servants. Know when you seek, just lead with discernment. See that the earth is evil and burning. People are hurting, he is returning. And I get down on my knees and thank God for giving me the day. Promise it won't be a waste, no. Ain't y'all sick of being fake? God is giving me a way. Consequence of being grateful. Her bad, it was deep in my soul. Now it's hard to feel sad when I'm reaching my goals. And I'll let you finish, wait. I'ma make them hear me say, I'm here at the VMA show.
If you guys don't know who Flawd is, I had him on the show maybe I feel like it was 2 years ago. And it was at a different point in both of our lives. So I'm kind of interested to see how things have changed over these last couple of years. So if you're interested in learning more about Flawd, you can check the description for all of his links. If you're watching me over on Rumble, just look up FlawdTV. But yeah, let's introduce my guest. Yo, what is going on, Flawd? How are you?
I'm good. I'm chilling.
Yeah?
I'm happy to be here.
Oh, sheesh. All right,
Yeah.
cool. You're chilling, man. You're
My
chilling.
favorite creators. Every time
Yeah?
I come here, I say that. Yeah, I feel like I just give you mad compliments every time I have an opportunity to, but it's it's from a real place.
Oh, I appreciate that because there's a lot of fake people in the
legit.
world.
Legit. That's a
Yeah.
fact.
Man. Well, just in case no one knows who you are, which I doubt it, but if no one knows who you are, can you give people a little bit of a rundown of who are you? What do you do?
I'm Flawdzilla, rapper first, content creator after that. I started with music reactions, but I've expanded into a lot of different places since then. You're an inspiration for that. Yeah, basically.
Appreciate it.
Really just a goofball. Overall, that's what it is in reality.
Yeah.
To bring all that together.
Goofball.
It's the glue.
Nice. I appreciate a good goofball. You know, I feel like people look at my channel and they think I'm like this stone cold. I feel like people look at me as like this teacher, like I'm just scolding them,
I've
and
seen
I'm
your
like,
old content.
I'm like, bruh.
You had skits. You're a comedian deep down. Like you.
I mean, I'm a comedian in general. Like, I think people look at the internet and they sort of perceive people in just based off of like 5 videos.
Yeah,
They're like,
they
I
set
know
expectations. Automatic.
Yeah. Exactly. So is that something that you experience on your channel?
Yeah,
where
nonstop.
yeah,
Every
what
day.
what do people say?
Day. So I really don't know where it comes from because people assume that I'm like this, like I'm just YouTuber, happy content creator. That's just always everything is a joke to me, and I'm never serious. And like which I'm a lot of times I'm not serious, but when it's time to be serious, I'm serious. And every time I say something legitimate, someone is like, "What are you doing? This isn't what you're supposed to be doing. I can't believe you're that kind of person." And that in my comments all the time. I don't get what you get though. You get a lot of like black people coming at you and acting like you're like some kind of sellout. That doesn't happen to me much.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what the difference there is. I don't
talk
get it.
crazier than you. In reality, I talk way crazier than you. You're super logical and I'm super reckless. So I don't know why, honestly.
Yeah, I don't think you're reckless.
Then you haven't watched enough content because I'm pretty reckless.
Damn.
You've heard some sensible takes, but I get reckless.
Okay,
sometimes.
so I just stop by during the wrong time. I don't hear the
Nah,
full.
You stop by like the weirdest times when I'm talking about like spoiled milk and like weird foods. It's never when I'm talking about something legitimate.
Oh
I get,
man,
like, maybe 5 minutes out of a 5-hour stream. I'm serious, but that
Wow.
5 minutes I lose viewers all the time.
Oh, okay. All right. So it's not just me.
Yeah.
All right. Dope. So the last time you came on, man, it was so long ago. And I refreshed my memory. Like, I don't. So I played the video where you made this beautiful song. And
you.
I commented when you first posted that, and legit I was crying. I'm like, this
Bro.
sounds so happy, and I
I was
love
crying
it.
recording it.
Wow.
Yeah, I felt it was something when I was recording it. Like I felt it was like a good anxiety. Like I was like, my skin felt weird while I was
Yeah.
recording it. Yeah, it was
Mm.
wild,
Mm.
wild.
So the last time I spoke to you, where were you in that transition of finding Jesus?
Not as far as I am now, but I was. My life at that point had been turned around from the rock bottom. Like so, at that point, I was still pretty far along, but not as far as I am now. Now it's like it's been such a consistent amount of blessings in my life that it's like even if there was any doubt at all at any point before, I'm fully convinced,
Wow.
that this is God. Everything that has happened to me. There's
Wow.
no way it isn't because everything works out way too perfectly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you on that. So now how has been the response from your audience? Do any of them find it odd that you went through that transition where they're like, yo, why are you like, what's going on? Like with me,
Nah.
people were just like, why is this girl talking about God all of a sudden?
I mean, see, for you, I think you like your audience just wanted to hear you just like only talk about the negative. They didn't want to. They don't like even though you still the same type of content, but you add like the light to it is what it is. There's a way out of it, and that's like what your content is. And I think people just feed off of negativity, so they want you to just hear you say these people are wrong, these people are bad, these people are wrong, even though you don't say bad, but these people are wrong. Basically, these people are not being smart about the way that they're going about things, and people like to hear that. They like to hear the judgment, but they don't like to hear like where it comes from in reality. And your transition, like you, the fact that your content now is like God based is what I feel like. It's like it's made me like you even more. Like you're an even better content creator to me because it feels more relatable to me. Because I used to feel at that time like when you interviewed me at that time I was like I was still vocal about how God was working in my life, but it was like it was rare. And if there was people talking about it, it didn't feel genuine. It felt like it was like a there's a few people that are genuine, but people are like using it just to appeal to conservative audiences. It doesn't come from a real place, and that's how I was feeling about a lot of it. So it was like I would talk about it to my audience, but like on like when I'm talking to other people, I would kind of, I would say it, but I wouldn't harp on it because it was even though that was wrong. That's why I made that song in reality because I was like, why am I ashamed? Why am I acting like I need to maneuver around people when these people are godless? It's not me. I'm the one who's like, my life is beautiful. I'm not here hating anyone. Why am I hiding myself, right? So, but to your question, no, people really didn't. People expected it from me because from day one, from my first like time I ever had a chance to speak on it on my channel, I always let it be known where I was at. And there's no other answer for coming out of where I came from and ending up in such a contrast. Like it's getting off of drugs is one thing, but like getting off of drugs and then thriving is like something totally different. And it was almost immediate.
Wow. So I loved everything you just said, by the way.
Thank you.
and just before I move on, because you said something that I want to transition to, but what you just said about like sort of treading on ice, and it's like, well, why do I feel ashamed? You're the people that are godless. That's something that I've definitely struggled with too on this channel. Like I legit would just take weeks, months off and not make content because I would notice this friction. And I think in the back of my mind, it's like, who am I trying to please here? Like, I know what the truth is. I know what the solution is. And it's just that society's sort of been conditioned to believe that whatever the social consensus of culture says is what's true. And that's so backwards. And really, when it came down to it, I was afraid about what other people would say about me and where my content was going. But realistically, these people are lost, and
they need the help.
They need the help the most. And I don't say that to, and I think maybe that's a part of the reason is that when when I talk about God or in general, when people are faced with that sort of like that opposite
adversity is what it is.
Right. It's almost like you're holding a mirror up to their face. And I think people don't like that. Like, who is this person talking about me and criticizing the way that I've been living my life? And so that's very interesting. So you don't have that fear anymore. You're just like, whatever.
No. And it was like it was exactly what you just said, that it's like I feel like people do feel like you're like preaching to them or whatever, and I used to be like, why would I do that? I'm not better than these people. But like that's a part of being a Christian, is that you have to tell people to repent. You have to actually like be forward about it, because then you're just contributing to the downfall of everybody, because you see it happening and you're just not being vocal while they're being super vocal about negativity. And it's like you're allowing the negative to win at that point. And I just feel like that's, if I'm aware of this and I don't act on it, then I'm good as gone. If I know this is happening and I hold myself from, because of being shamed, or like I don't want people to shame me, I don't want people to even like try to act like, just it's like I'm waiting until I have a platform enough to have people to listen. But like I know now that my platform will get to that point because I am sticking to my values and doing what I'm supposed to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like God gave you the platform.
Yeah.
It's like the same thing with me. Like, I didn't think I was going to be doing this. Man, I have a documentary being made about me. Like,
Fire.
when would I have ever thought that's going to happen? That's not me.
That's crazy. You went from being canceled to the exact opposite now, for being yourself. That's because you stuck through it, man. You dealt with the adversity, and just you didn't just give up and flip your switch to join the gang. You just did your thing. You continue to do your thing, and your blessing's going to be even crazier than any of those people who have ever said a negative thing about you. Even if they like think that they're in a good part of their life, they're clearly not if they're attacking you, and your blessings are going to grow just because you are a woman of your word, you know, and trying to grow.
Sheesh.
It's a great thing.
It's a great thing.
And I truly believe it. I feel like some people don't, because maybe because I was like OD'd and like all these things happened in my life, and I literally was like aware while it was happening. A lot of people move through life without it, but like I can see that you are like something else. There's something. You do everything everything is high level. Like you don't lack in any place. That I perceive. You probably do in real life. I don't know. But,
I suck. All right.
Yeah, maybe in real life you're trash. I have no idea. But like from what I see, you are in a perfect position to have the platform you're supposed to have. It's at the perfect time, and that's not an accident.
I appreciate that. Same with you, man.
Thank you.
So you're right. So you kind of alluded to it a little bit with like your history with drug use. And so can you just give people maybe a background of like what were you on, what were you taking, how'd you get into it, and how'd you get out?
Okay. So it's a crazy, like it was a crazy evolution, because originally I was like anti-drug and totally I used to make fun of people who I would see like nodding out on drugs and all this. And then I broke my ankle. That's like I think it was obviously past trauma in my life, but like I broke my ankle, and that introduced me to pills, to Percocet, like oxycodone, I think it's called. And so I took them because I was in pain and I wanted my ankle to feel better. But then after like 2 weeks of that, I realized it was like, when I didn't have it, I was having pain all over my body. And I was like, damn, that's crazy, right? In my head. But I still, as you get, like, you do drugs longer, you feel like you feel like you need it. Like, it's not, even if you wouldn't chase it, even if in the beginning you weren't doing it to do it, you end up chasing to get away from that feeling, that body pain and all that. And then it ends up just getting more and more deep and deep. And so what ends up happening is I go from perks to like anything I can get, like Vicodin and all these different types of pills that just people just have. And my mother she had stage 4 breast cancer, so she was prescribed them. And my mother was a drug addict her entire life, was like not the greatest mother. She gave me good knowledge, but she was like not the greatest mother. So she used to like give me drugs. My mother would give me drugs. My sister would give me drugs, and we would just all be getting high together. Me, my girl, my mother, my sister, and like buying drugs illegal from like weird all over the place. My mother had scripts of like the strongest and still was out buying them because she was addicted. And it was like crazy cycle. It was like just a bunch of people enabling each other. And so my mother passed away, and that like messed with me crazily, and I was in the most depressed place. And one day I couldn't get drugs, and I was like, I couldn't get Percocet because there was like none anywhere. So I was like, what's the next thing? So my boy told me that you could do fentanyl and it will feel the same. It's not too much different. That's what addicts say. The addicts are like, yeah, it's just a step up. Go ahead, just make the jump. And it's like you rationalize that in your head. And so one time I did it, And then after that, it's like I don't want perks anymore. Now I just want fentanyl, and it's just all fentanyl for like years. And then it stops working after like a month or two. You don't feel like really high anymore. You're high for like 2 seconds. Now you're just chasing to not be sick because the sickness off of that is like it's like flu times 10. So then you're running from that and you're figuring out any way to get money. But so yeah, eventually I ended up doing that for years. And then we ended up smoking crack, doing coke, and like taking just anything that could happen, anything that I could get, you could do besides meth. I never did meth for some reason. I don't know why. Probably would have if I was in it for a month more because it was more and more meth that's coming around me. But it's so basically I was doing all these drugs. My life was all over the place, and me and Mo broke up for like a month. And during that month, I was like off of it. I was losing my mind, doing anything. Didn't even matter. I had random weird people in my house I didn't even know, and all this shit or stuff. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to all
It's
this
all right. It's
stuff.
all good.
And so at some point, even though me and Mo are broken up, we're like still together and shit like and stuff. I just can't even stop and stuff like that. And so one day we go to her parents' house, and I go to the bathroom, and in the bathroom I go and do more drugs, and I overdose in her backyard, and she's in the car. She doesn't even know I'm in the backyard. She can't see me or nothing like that. Somehow just has like a inkling of like, let me go see what he's doing, and goes into the backyard, and I'm like laid out in the backyard, about to die. And she calls the ambulance, and they bring me back to life and things like that. My father shows up. Her whole family's there, and everyone's just like showing support. Everyone except for my father is like showing me support and like is worried about me. And I remember that, and I was like, it can't get any worse besides death. You know, like even though I'm at my most like lowest point, I don't want to die. Even though during that day I was so high, I was like I jumped out of a moving car twice in like high, just dumb because I was like off it. Yeah, jumped out, smashed my head, was bleeding, was all messed up, and don't even remember really why. Honestly, it was like I remember jumping out of a car. I remember an old man coming back and be like, "You okay?" And I got back in the car and then jumped out again when we started moving again. And it was just like I don't even remember a lot of the reasoning for anything I did.
Just did it. It was like
I just
involuntary.
yeah, it was like it's like it just compounds. The negative energy just compounds on itself, and it's just you it's like attention seeking, but it's also it's so many different things in my brain. I probably need some therapy because I really don't even know where it comes from. But I was in a bad place, and I was like, I can't get any worse than this. So I want to get off drugs. Basically, I was like, if I'm willing to jump out of cars and go through that pain and all this, like eventually what's gonna happen is I'm not gonna have money. I'm not gonna be able to get anything, and I'm gonna be forced to go through this. So I might as well just put myself through it anyway. And so that day, basically, I was like, we're gonna figure this out and get stuff together. And like a week later, we went to the methadone clinic and like started getting methadone in place of fentanyl, so then we could wean off of that eventually. Which is like I'm on 1 milligram, about to be done next week. Which is like it takes years. I've seen people on it for like 15 years. So if it wasn't for that, a lot of people bash it. But if it wasn't for that, Molly's already off of it. Mo's already off of it. I'm about to be off of it, and my life is about to be back to what it was before drugs, but with all of the knowledge of that and like a different type of humility just from making it through it. It's like it was almost it's probably the thing that will be responsible for every good decision I make in my future, because now it's like I feel like I have the power to do anything, like mentally.
Yeah.
And it's just it's a beautiful thing, because they also said we wouldn't be able to get clean together, but if it wasn't for her, I probably wouldn't be clean right now, or I wouldn't be here, because her parents had us living in their basement for a year when we were on methadone. We're like, we need to get away from all of our friends. We need to not talk to anyone. So for a year, we stayed in her parents' basement, and they were just like super supportive and wanted us to be good, which is crazy because my own father was like, I don't ever want to talk to you again, basically. Like I texted him and I was like, I'm trying to get clean. He was like, just didn't respond. And I was like, okay, whatever. But her parents took me in, made sure we were good, and then they moved to Texas. So we moved to Texas, got our own apartment, and now life is just a great, great thing. And I don't think I would have had the power to do any of that if it wasn't for God. Because when you don't have anything as a crutch, the only thing you have is God. And that's been like every time I've been at that point, it's been proven to me that God has my back every single time. no matter what.
Amen, man. I am so happy you're still around. That's a crazy story.
I left a lot out. I kind of sped through it, but it's wild, man.
Yeah. So in that process of you getting clean, when did you start to like look towards God? Was there like a specific moment when you started pivoting?
So it was right after I OD'd, basically. That's where it was, because at that point her parents weren't trying to help us. Like I wasn't even about to go to the methadone clinic. I was just in a terrible place, and I was like, I told her, I was like, I'm gonna start trying to clean my life up and do better. And God was always the drive for everything since like 2007, 2008. That's been the thing, but it just was on like the back burner for a long time. And like, oh, when I need God, then he's there. But like, it's become now that like God is just always with me. That started probably 2020, honestly, 2019, the end of 2019. But it was me ODing that really made me be like, I have nothing else but God. So I'm just, and it's like, it wasn't like now it's time. It was like, it felt the whole time, it felt like fate. It honestly felt like fate. The fact that I didn't die when I overdosed, it was like everything after that was like, there's no coincidences. That's been my mantra this whole time since that, because I just should have died. They narcaned me 3 times, and like I just should have been dead. Mo shouldn't have walked into that backyard. None of that should have happened like that. But it was like I had to go through it for my own ignorance.
Wow. Man, and what you just said, I think a lot of people, at least from my perspective, I talk to a lot of people that tell me about how they don't believe in God, and when I sort of probe into that story, it's usually because they were sort of using or trying to reach out to God only when they needed something.
Exactly.
And it was just for like, I need this, but it's other than that, it's like you don't know God.
Yep.
And it's interesting that you notice that, and you're you're self-aware to that.
And I think like in my head, I always think if I am aware of it and I don't act on that, if I don't apply it, then I deserve every failure I have after that. If I can actually see what I'm doing wrong or what I think I'm doing wrong that I convince myself of, and I don't try to change it, then there's something up there. I don't want to do better at that point. It's accountability for me.
Wow. All right. If I can ask, and you can tell me to shut up if you don't want to answer this. Okay.
Anything you want.
Have you forgiven your parents?
So my father, I really never had an issue with, because I know how this country works. Like I had an issue with him because my mother like fed this energy to me that my father was just a bad person, which he's just a flawed person. You know, he's just been through it. He had crazy upbringing too. But like in my heart, I forgive him, but in life, I still want to have these conversations, which he's never been willing to do, because he doesn't want to take accountability of what it actually is. And it's like, I'm not mad, because I know what it is to be a father in America with a baby's mother who would rather be on welfare and not have the father in the household, and then be mad that the father has a new girlfriend, and like all of this like it was just a toxic environment. So now that I'm an adult, I know that. And my mother didn't have a mother either. So it's like kind of, as soon as I was able to really see what it was, when I had time to think around like 17, 18, 19, I was like, I wrote my mother a letter and was like, yo, like really, because I was in jail. I was like, I really don't have anyone to blame for anything but myself, because I know better. I do know better. And so like that's where accountability really hit for me, was right before I turned 18, because there's nothing you can do. When you go to jail, nobody can do anything for you. You just literally have to deal with that and look at the judge, and like you can fight your case, but if they say no, you're going to jail. So like that was like a awakening for me, that anything I do is me. Anything I do is my fault. So it led to me being like, my mother getting evicted and giving me a crazy upbringing. It's all a part of this system that we are a part of, which is why I don't want to say like woke is not the word. That's what like, but like that's the what the real definition of woke would be, is why my brain thinks like that, because it's a system, and I've noticed it from the beginning of my adult years. And the only way to not fall into it is to have accountability for your actions and not be a victim of anything, because you have to if you are a victim, you could still think about that and continue to move forward and try to do better. You don't just live in that mind state. My sister does that. My sister is still, she's 4 years older than me. She's on drugs right now. She's like out here living her worst life. I got a text like bail her out of jail a few months ago. I'm like, no, you're 4 years older than me. I wish I would. You're supposed to be in a better place than that. And it's like my mother kind of babied her into this like victim mind state and bailed her out of all her situations that she's ever been in. And it's like the contrast, seeing that is also another reason why I have to make better decisions, because I see what it can do if you do live in your victimhood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If that was, I don't even know if I answered your question.
No, you definitely, you did. I think you did. Oh, what happened with my computer? Why is it doing this? Hold on a second. Okay. And my screens went off. I'm like, what's going on?
That happens to me. That happens to me all the time.
Weird.
That's like this screen shuts off randomly and then everything moves. And
well, no, I think so. I wanted to bring up the forgiveness thing, because I think that's one aspect that, you know, a lot of, even Christians, I think a lot of them they struggle with that particular aspect. Yeah. And I get it, especially if you were raised in a family that wasn't structured or was chaotic or abusive. Like, I have stories of my own. I've shared it on my channel. You know, I recently, up until maybe a year ago, I forgave my biological dad after not talking to him for like 15 years. Yep. So and it's difficult, but I think also, it's like that hope of understanding that if we don't forgive people, then our Father in heaven isn't going to forgive us. And really, if everyone, believers or not, learn to adopt that principle, I think the world would be a lot better than it is. Because it's also big part. It's a big part. And then it's also like, in a way, setting the expectation, like, okay, even though, you know, you did something that I don't condone it, I am hoping that you'll change at some point. And sometimes I think a lot of people who continue to do bad, they're sort of seeking that grace from others. Like, you know, it's almost like, well, why am I going to change if no one's going to forgive me anyway? This is just how I am.
Why ask for permission when I can ask for forgiveness? That's what it becomes. Just doing everything on purpose, just because, not thinking about anyone else outside of you. Right. I believe in karma, which is, it's like, even though it's karma, it's really more like, I think it's really the judgment is what the judgment from God is what I've been maneuvering with for a long time. I really believe that's what it is, because karma, I can't really quantify it in life, but I do know that if I'm not aware of that, then it's not going to be good at some point. And I think that's just my deep down Christian, you know, even without it, I'm just naturally Christian at heart. Right. Before, I was an atheist, and I was still thinking this way.
That's crazy. So you were an atheist. I always love talking to people so you just flat out didn't believe in God at all.
Yeah, people would say it, and my brain would just be like, shut off, and be like, there's no way. I wasn't hearing anything. It was automatic. Since I was a child, I was like 7 years old, telling my aunt, who used to work at a church, and I would be like, get out of here with that. I don't know why you're so ignorant. You're so ignorant. I'm a child saying these things to my aunt. It was like, I feel crazy now. I feel bad for how I used to talk to her about it, because I was like extra for no reason. Like, I believe in science. At 7. I don't even know what I was talking about, bro. Don't even know what I was talking about. I had no idea.
That's nuts. That's so interesting. I mean, I used to be equally terrible. Like I it's funny because I never quite. I think I was always sort of like agnostic, and I had some I had some interest in like new age, like witchcraft and stuff like that.
I thought I was a witch for a minute.
Yeah? Oh, you too?
I was reading books on it. Yeah. I was like, yo, things just happen to work around me, man. Like, they say that's the qualities of a natural witch. It's all me.
Isn't that interesting? It's like, I don't believe in God, but I'm a witch.
But then witchcraft, that's right. That makes sense. That makes sense to me somehow.
That's crazy. Wow. Guys, if you have any questions for Flawd, by the way, you can just leave them in the chat and I'll go ahead and ask them. So
like a witch, I do a little bit.
So I
can see it.
Do you remember? So, like, when you said you believed in the science, was there like a main argument that you would give?
That's what I'm saying.
Of why it was just that?
Nah, I didn't even have an argument. I was like, that's why science. Because I remember hearing that scientists are trying to prove, not trying to prove that God doesn't exist. They're trying to prove God does exist, and I feel like that's like a manipulative statement, because there's so many things that you're just trying to act like don't exist, which I get because you want physical proof of everything. I get that. But like for a normal person, that's the same as faith to believe a scientist. And it's funny because Always Sunny in Philadelphia said that, and it was a revelation for me. I was like, that's crazy because we read these books, we hear all these things, and we don't have these machines. We don't have a God. We don't know a God particle. We don't have a large hadron collider to prove any of this. And we're just like, yeah, they're doing that. Never even seen the thing move in real life. And I'm like, yeah, that's what they're doing. This is this is what's real. This is fake. And I don't have actual proof besides experience that God exists. So that's why God makes sense to me, because every time I've needed the proof, it's been proof in my life, which I can't say. No one else has lived my life, so I know I can't prove it. I can only have the testimony to tell people. But like everything I've ever heard about, like science and any of that, I don't know any of that. I have no idea.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't know even scientific formula.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I have this phrase that I use, and it's like, we're all sheep. The question is, who is your shepherd? And I think that's totally true, because look how quickly people are willing to put science as their God and say like, no, this is why everything is happening. But it's like, if you even dig a little bit deeper with that statement, it's like, okay, who made the laws of science? Like if you don't have a creator, there are no laws of science. So this thing that you were calling God, the science, is essentially you're worshiping a creation.
Yeah. As they're saying that everything has to have a creator, but God, who we don't know what created this, is just some random, just nothing went together and then made something. And it's like, you can't do that right now. You cannot recreate that in reality, physically. No matter how many, you could try that all day. You're not making something out of nothing, ever. So there has to be a creator, and they just completely ignore it. It doesn't make any sense. They believe what they want to believe is what it is. Because there's, like, the Big Bang, I can't prove that. They damn sure can't prove that. But it's the same thing as their God. That's
right. But you would also think that people would question how legitimate science can be to determine, to explain everything, because it's like science can't even tell us what a woman is these days. So like how it's not very accurate.
That's a fact. It's crazy. It's crazy. We ain't curing nothing. Like there's just it doesn't make any sense. We have all these answers but no solutions.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna read you some questions really quick. A surname says, what do you think about all the people that say there is nothing because bad things happen?
If we have free will, then people make bad decisions, and some people are just mean. Some people are, you don't even know like what someone's history is when they do create something that is negative, or if they do something, like there's just no way. I know how I've made some crazy decisions as a kid. I used to just beat kids up and bully people. Like imagine that on a larger scale, like just for more time, just continuing to cultivate that, and you could turn into anything. And that doesn't mean that there's no God. That just means that there's some people who make crazy decisions, to me.
Yeah. That's something that someone had to actually explain to me. Like back when I wasn't a believer, that was usually the go-to that I would ask. Is like, there's no God because all these bad things keep happening in the world, without even considering, okay, what have human beings done to contribute to all of these bad things?
Everything. We've done everything. Not us personally, not the sheep, but like the people. Like clearly, half the times we're making decisions, half the time we're not, and it's like this on a grand scale. There's no way that we are the ones who are doing that. There's something happening. There's people who are actually trying to create these things, these situations, just for you to not believe, just for that type of thing to have some type of like what's the word, like basis in reality. Like, oh, all these bad things happen, then how can God exist? Look at this. These people dying by the millions over here. How can God exist? And it's like someone did it. Doesn't even make any sense. Someone's responsible for it.
Yeah. And I think the other part of it, what people don't understand is sin. It's not something that just it affects someone personally. Like oftentimes I'll hear people say, well, if so-and-so wants to do something that's bad, it's not hurting anyone. But like, it's like, where did you get that from? Because sin really, it has a tendency to latch on. There's waves, and it affects a multitude of people. You may not see it instantly, but it definitely, it's not just something that happens on an individual basis.
Negativity spreads automatically. It spreads way faster than positivity. That's like a cliche, but it's true. It's like just saying, if bad things happen, how does God exist? The waves of that statement on a grand scale are probably like we can't even fathom. Just that could have been something that changes someone the course of someone's life. Just hearing, yeah, you're right. You're actually right. And then just continuing on a different path. And now they don't believe in God. And now they're just living in sin and creating all these other sin branches off of sin trees. It's like, it's humans are so complex that there's no way that this isn't like created, that this isn't designed like this.
Yeah.
This is a very, it's like an experiment, social experiment by God is what it feels like.
Interesting. I have a question over on the Rumble side, and someone wanted to know, so if science is always moving forward, then it will eventually discover God. Do you agree? Thoughts?
I do. I do agree with that.
I think we already have the ability, like, I think, and this is the problem with science, is that we're depending on scientists
Yep.
to interpret that science. But I think we have the ingredients right now to point towards God, but people don't want to.
Yeah.
Like just the simple fact of, okay, if we look at cause and effect, the effect is Earth, it's us, it's the way that our bodies operate, it's our consciousness. What was the cause of that? The Big Bang, evolution. That to me, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, doesn't even make sense.
Yeah.
Like just sentience doesn't, some things, like I think that the fact that we don't have ways to quantify a lot of these energies that are existing in my head, because I just know that momentum in life has been a real thing, even though they just act like it's a cliche and it's not a real thing. Like The Secret, I don't want to say this, like it's standing for something that we're just acting like it's some kind of pseudoscience. But I think that is part of our consciousness. All of that, you say we have the ingredients. I think we have the ingredients just naturally in us to go towards God, to end up going towards God. But then they have all these different institutions and things that are trying to knock you off course. You know what I mean? Like if you're on a road driving forward and someone hits the side of your car, you could just fly off and go into a disaster. You may not die, but it's that simple. Just a little hit will put you on course away from God. And now there's so many people that are like that it just has a even crazier effect. You see this person, these people, and it's like you start learning from, it's just whatever you want to lean into, basically. You just start learning from negativity, I think, easier in this world because it's so prominent. But if there's more people like you, I think that's why you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. The awakening is a real thing.
Yeah.
Because it's necessary right now on this type of everyone being this connected and there being so little of like genuinely like God-fearing people. It's crazy to me. It just doesn't even make sense because America was like so Christian. It's crazy that it's the exact opposite now within like the span of 10 years. That was done, is what I feel.
Right.
It's a block from God.
Right.
They're trying to block you out from God, is what it feels like.
But
and
you know what
science is built by those people, or science is run by those same people. So it's like, even if they discover it, it's going in the Vatican. Like, you know,
Right.
It's going away.
Well, I like this super chat right here from David. Science without God equals Fauci.
Facts. That's facts. Facts. Science with dogs equals Fauci. Spin that word.
Oh man. So like, and you know what I find very interesting is there is definitely a desire for God without people outright saying it. Because it's like you see how many people are depending on like tarot readers or Reiki healers or astrology, and it's like they're seeking answers, but they're going to other people. And it's sort of in the same way when I ask people about objective morality, their morality is derived from other people. So it's just like the blind leading the blind, not recognizing that humans don't have everything figured out. We don't have all the answers, and we're literally relying on other people to point us towards truth. And I don't think that's going to work.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Majority of people, everything that they know is learned. Like no one follows instincts at all. I just Tucker Carlson just said this the other day on like one of these leak videos they try to leak, is that he tells his kid that you already know what you're supposed to be doing. Like it's in you inherently, but you are so influenced by other people that's just not, it's not even on your brain that you need to make the right and wrong decision. You're such in your individual mind about trying to and being affected by other people that you are just like not actually listening to your soul is what's happening. You're living physically, and it's wild. That's a wild thing because I've never been that. But except for when I was a child, but like as an adult, I've never been that. Ever since I was able to like really make decisions for myself, I cared about doing the right thing. Like that was always, no matter what. People lie, people steal, people do all these things, and like I have a real issue with even speaking a lie. Like that's why I'd rather just hurt feelings. If it's my truth, then we can have the conversation. You know what I mean? Go back and forth until we find common ground. Most people won't have that conversation, but I always have to say what I feel because I know I'm not intentionally trying to be negative. I'm trying to either really get to the bottom of something or it's what I really feel. And it rubs people wrong all the time because in this world you're supposed to be following.
Yeah, I mean, what you just said, I definitely can relate to that because like, you know, my channel, if I just take that as an example, has gone over a shift the last couple of years. The more I draw closer to God, the more my beliefs become a lot more like stern. Like I have hard lines with a lot of things that maybe a couple of years ago I would have, maybe I'll compromise on this. Yep. Maybe we can work something out. Same. And it's like, I'm at the point now, it's like, okay, we recognize that there are problems in the world. We recognize that there's a lot of depravity and just violence and hate. And so now the question is, how do we fix it? And that's really what I've been trying to unpack with me on this channel. And it's because like, I think people get so used to complaining and it's like, okay, but how do we fix it now? And, you know, as I said, a couple of years ago, I probably would have said, you know, the culture war is what we got to do. We got to fix the culture war. We got to get Trump back in office. We got to, you know, and these things may have some effect in a positive way, maybe on a micro level, but it's not addressing the underlying problem of civilization. And that's the human heart. Like, how do you fix the human heart without God? I don't see how.
It's literally not possible. You have like a lot of good content on this because like you put it in such an articulate way every time that this is like they're purposely making people lost and turning people away from God. And that's the only thing that has ever made me feel comfortable is believing in God. Everything else I've ever believed in, it's not real foundation. Everything that I've ever tried to pursue like as like a belief system that wasn't God has been such a shaky thing. And it's led to anxiety and just negative things in my life. The only thing that has climbed me out of the hole is when I 100% have cut all that off and only say God is who has my back no matter what. When that has been my mind state, I win every time. Every single time. And it's like that may sound crazy, right? I know it doesn't, but like to people who want to prove me wrong, they'll be like, yeah, okay, that's nothing. You're just that's your hippity dippity. I don't want to hear it. But like I'll just keep winning that. I'm just gonna keep on winning. You'll keep being sad and seeing what it is, and then hopefully that'll shine light on you. Because I don't know what it's gonna take, how you can actually fix it besides being unapologetically Christian, basically.
So I want to put up a comment because I always got some naysayers in the chat, and I always want to challenge them, have some nice friendly challenging.
I do the same thing. That's why people walk away from my channel so much. It happens every time.
Oh man. So we have one here from First Last that says, do you realize other people are getting along just fine without God?
Okay.
So what I will say to that is like, okay, if we just zoom out for a second and we look at another group of people who are acting crazy, let's say social justice warriors, they're acting crazy. Yeah, they get along amongst themselves.
Yeah. And even then they barely do.
But we can say they get along, but that doesn't resolve the bigger picture, you know? Yeah. So what is the solution there? It's like even the wicked, they're nice to each other. They love each other, but that doesn't resolve the bigger problem.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean,
it's a fact.
If you had to pinpoint one thing that, like, if you look at society as a whole, one big obstacle that you think people need to overcome, aside from God, let's say, do you think maybe it's like, is it like pride? Is it arrogance? Is it like,
was
what do you
gonna
think it
say,
is?
So what I think it really is that people have to stop caring about like stop caring about being shamed. I think that's the main
Mm,
thing because that's what creates followers. That's in this society, like where it's just all influencers and celebrity and money and like people don't want to be shamed, so then they bow to the crowd every single time. And I think that right there would change everything. If people were like, okay, say whatever you want, I'm gonna just do this. I feel like a lot of people, like you just said, they have that they want to feel good. They want to do better. And it ends up happening like a lot of Christians are atheists. You end up hitting a point where it's like this isn't working, and you thought it was the whole time. So I guess it's arrogance too, because you're arrogant the whole time, thinking that you are just not there yet. You're on your way to figure it out, and then it just gets deeper and deeper. Your happiness doesn't like you stay unhappy. You stay in this like nihilistic mind state, just thinking that nothing is nothing and everything is nothing, and people don't have value, and it makes you think like you're the only one who gets it because everyone else is just they're just not as smart as you. That's what that breeds, that type of thinking. But yeah, so yeah, I think it's people need to stop being letting shame like break down their actual beliefs because most people are Christian conservatives at heart in reality, like real conservatives or at least Christian libertarians at heart, and they're so easily just manipulated by, oh, you're a bigot, you're a this, you're a that, all these
mm,
different names that people are like, I don't want to be that, so now I'm gonna abide by their rules, and it's like that doesn't make any sense. But
yeah. Oh,
that's how.
yeah. I think you just hit the nail on the head because, like, there's a reason why the immediate reaction from a lot of people that claim to be taking the moral high ground is to call someone who disagrees a bigot, a
Yeah,
racist, a transphobe. And it's because they recognize that those words have power to someone who is still trying to please the world.
yeah,
And I think that is one of the best things that I realized when I came to Christ is I'm free from this from these shackles of
yeah.
feeling as though I have to be obedient to culture just because culture sets its terms.
Yeah, and culture changes every year, so it's like you'll never have
Exactly.
roots ever.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, it's interesting. So last night I was on a different podcast. I was talking with Mikey
Mike
and
Harlow.
yeah, Mike Harlow from like the Walkaway campaign. And I was talking to him and we got on a conversation of like LGBT QIA plus minus because there's so many
Yeah,
letters. And
GYX. Yeah, yeah,
and just to preface, I used to in high school when I was anti-Christian and was a witch or attempting to
yeah.
be a witch. I was also like very pro LGB. Like I was like, yeah, gay people, you evil Christians, you rah. And now it's sort of flipped, not in the sense that I think people who are gay are evil, but it's flipped in the sense where it's like I've recognized that the only reason I felt as though I needed to support that particular community, if you will, is because culture convinced me that.
Yeah.
And that's sort of where I think a lot of people are now, where it's like if they don't support that, you're a bigot, you're a homophobe, you're this, you're that. But it's like, okay, where are you getting that standard that I must accept this? Because like if I use me as an example, people are always calling me nasty names in the comment section, and I don't have that sort of that safety net where I can say you cannot criticize me because
Yep.
that's Christian phobic. You can't do
Yep.
that. You know, you're black phobic or so. I just
Automatic.
there's
You could come up with something if you really wanted to. You could push it, and it would probably go somewhere.
but there's no words for that. And even so, if people disagree with me and they want to call me names, like I can still try and find some type of a middle ground. But if it's like if it pertains to the gay thing, it's like this hard line where it's like, no, we can't talk to each other. I can't associate with you. You hate my existence. And I think that's what's led to a lot of problems in the world is because everyone is sort of in their own little camps, and only people that affirm and support every single thing about that particular camp is worthy of even having a conversation.
Yep. That's my mother and my sister. They're both lesbians. My mother was a lesbian before she passed away. Like for my entire life, I can only remember her being with women, right? And I wish she was still alive right now because I would interview her. We'd have a conversation because my mother is like, she's not for these type of games. She was never this type of person, and she, like I said, she was lesbian my entire life. Used to go to gay clubs and be friends with like drag queens and all this, but she never was like. I've never heard her call someone homophobic or bigot for anything, and she had enemies. A lot of people didn't like my mother, and I've never heard her jump to that automatically, not once. And that was my entire life that she was a lesbian. And and she hung out with only gay people and like other lesbians, and I never once heard her jump to that. So I would like to have the conversation because I think there's too many people that disagree with that for that to be such a heavily like such a strict line. Like so many people who are in that, not actually in the movement, but like are gay or don't agree with it, but they are treated just like. Well, those ones are different. Those ones don't matter. They're different, even though it's still a part of the same thing. It's like that right there should cancel the whole movement. But for some reason, it still somehow has legs and runs every single day, even though there's so much that is against itself. Like these people who transition and then detransition, and it's like now they don't matter because they detransition. These gay people who are not liberals, super like screaming liberals, they don't matter. And it's like, that type of thinking, there's no way that it can sustain, but for some reason, it's still going hard. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Yeah, that's interesting. The other aspect is what I mentioned in yesterday's podcast is like also you also have the other equation of people that are no longer gay, and it's like that's an interesting angle that's a part of that conversation, because just like the detransitioners, they sort of get brushed off to the wayside, like no, you're not with us. But it's like, hold on a second, they were with you, so don't you want to know why they're no longer gay? Like, are we gatekeeping sexuality and feelings and identity now? Like, I thought that was,
which changes the whole movement at that point.
Yeah, and all that to say, like, I think it's sort of it plays into the bigger root problem here, is that you got a bunch of people in one particular community that are all doing their own variations of what they think is right. It's like that's
like
why
Christianity.
Bruh. that's an entirely different thing. Like, I've only been a Christian for about a year, but once I became a Christian, it's like my eyes were open, and I'm like, what is up with these woke churches? Like, what is going on with that? Can anyone explain that to me?
Doesn't make any sense, bro. Doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
People rewrite the Bible themselves.
Yeah, no. I mean, I think they definitely are. I went to the library the other day, and there's like a religious section, and I was looking at the Christian books, and they got like queer Christianity, and they're
starting cults. That's not a thing.
It's like they're starting the whole thing. So I have like little cards with different passages from the Bible. So I was just shoving it in there, like God is not the author of confusion. Just
change your lives. Someone's gonna open that and be like, "Damn, I needed that today. I almost read this."
Yeah. So it's it's wild out there, and so
it's a wild world.
It's a wild world, man.
But that's why I think people, like, if people are, let's say, so when I was in jail, there was like this group called the 5%ers, right? And they're like a Muslim, supposedly like half Muslim. They're not even really Muslim, but they take like these different parts of Muslim stuff. And so they had this like idea that 5% of the world is aware of what's happening. I think 5% is aware of what's happening. 10% are like the people who are doing it, who are controlling everything, and then 85% are just blind sheep who want to follow. And if, like, sometimes I think that there is people out here who just, they have no sense of like actual urgency in their soul to do anything, and or maybe they do and it's just super clouded, but it feels like people want to follow. It's like it's a wild situation. But what I was trying to get at was a channel like this, I think if they do have that type of soul in them and it's just clouded, will open it, will move the clouds. I think someone like you who's just being honest about the experience and everything you've been through, how you got to this point, I think it'll be the biggest difference when this whole like psyop kind of dies down unless they ramp it up somehow, which they probably will, because I never thought we'd be where we're at right now. But I think the only way to fight is to, you said the culture war, but like culture is like such a blend now that I just think this is just society now. So having a platform where you're not afraid to actually speak on these things is, I think it's the key. It's the only thing you could do, short of like locking someone in your basement and making them be Christian.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
is you gotta use the influence you got, because you have it for a reason, I think.
Yeah. No, I definitely believe that too. Someone said the other day, because I talked about that on my Twitter, I was like, we're not going to win this war by voting and debating and protesting. Like a culture war isn't going to fix it. And someone said, well, it technically isn't. Wouldn't it be a culture war if more people became believers in Jesus? And I'm like, well, I think by technical standards, yeah. But you know, that's something that people have to they have to take that step on their own. They have to find it. They have to seek. And for me, and I think you can relate to this, a lot of people I don't think even consider seeking until they hit rock bottom.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. When things are great, why would you ever? You would.
Right.
When you're good, you don't need any help from anything. You got it all on lock for you. But then you'll always get humbled. So that's why I think it's inevitable that as long as this content is here, like, because you got to make the content in order for it to be in front of people. You can't just expect people to see it. So the fact that you're being so proactive about making this content, people will stumble across it. You know, right now it may seem crazy, but like at some point, I've seen videos go viral 10 years later, and it's like you would have never thought it, but that would be ideal. I think that's the key, is having it there for when people do look for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Right on, man. There was a super chat I wanted to read. This was from Brett the Illustrator.
My guy.
Pride and ego are the major factors that are ruining and holding society back. A great example is the inability for people to admit when they're wrong.
That's true. That's a big part too.
Oh,
people don't want to be wrong.
Yeah.
They just argue things into the ground even after they're wrong.
Yeah.
Proven wrong, you know that they're wrong, and still just, nope, I'll never. That's another thing I try not to do. I find myself doing it sometimes, though. I still will be like, I just don't want this person to be right. But if I realize it, then I try to be like, okay, well, like, you got to have humility, because that right there creates not a callus for it, but it creates a muscle. Like, you'll get the muscle memory of being able to humble yourself if you do it, even though it's hard to do. It's very hard to do, but it's only gotten easier. Like, now I can actively like have real conversations, which back in like 2010, 2009, when I was like BLM supporter and all this, there was no way, bro. No one could have told me anything, no matter. I'm just looking, okay, if I am wrong, okay, how can I move these goalposts somehow to make myself right real quick? There's something here that I'm missing. Let me figure out this equation. That's how I used to think. Now I'm just like natural with it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, so you were out there protesting?
Yeah. I was not. Hell no. No, never. No. See, that's the thing. I didn't even care in reality. I was like, this is crazy. This is an opportunity for me to feel like I'm a part of something, is what it really became. Like, I was not about it enough to ever step outside and be like, yeah, like, nah, I'm not putting myself on the line for that. I don't care. That's how I was thinking. Like, yeah, so, that's how I know that's how they're thinking, because similar way. They're just more extreme.
Could I assume that your job was to spread awareness? Is that what you were doing?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. I was a rapper. I was like trying to. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. That's exactly what it was. I remember.
That's funny.
Having specific arguments about like BLM right after George Floyd died, that's the whole thing that made my open my head. It was partly you. That's the thing. Partly your content, right? But around that time, I was like super on Facebook, just arguing. Like, Facebook is the worst place to argue, because no one's gonna see that. You're just having arguments with just random people that you live around. That just like I wasn't spreading awareness to nobody. In reality, it was just arguing, and I would just sit there and just like, if anyone was voting for Trump, I immediately was like, okay, there's an issue. As soon as like when he first ran, I was like, there's an issue here. I'm not going to live in no community with people who vote for Trump and are happy about it and are proudly saying it. No, there's going to be a problem here. And I would seek out these people and be like, I need to make these people feel stupid somehow. Somehow, I just look for posts. Don't even got to be a political post. Just something, and just be like, okay, this person just said this. Well, you're not a good person. Somehow, you're a terrible person. I can't believe you would do this. Go down. Your kid. Why does your kid have popsicle juice on him? Clean your kid up. Like it was negative. It was super negative. But then, like, I remember her sister was like, yo, they just burnt down a Wendy's. And I was like, I remember making an excuse like, well, why do you care? It's Wendy's. They make mad money. And then I found out that, like, regular people can own Wendy's. I'm like, oh, they're just, in my head, I was like, I can't get behind it. And that like untied my shoes to trip down the stairs of awareness. Is what happened.
Yeah, you sounded like a bunch of people I would see online. Like they'd be like, I'd ask them like, why are protesters looting the stores? They got insurance.
Yeah,
I'm like,
that's
that
literally
doesn't.
the first thing that came out of my mouth. Like, why do you care? Target? Come on, man. They're the system.
That's crazy. But yeah, it's like and this is also why I really don't like the news. I really don't trust the media entirely, even if it's like alternative media. It's like I am so skeptical about any type of news program, because really what I've learned after walking away from the left, it's that, you know, we're sort of conditioned to believe a narrative and to not allow us to think critically about something.
Yeah.
Like if we were just if our job was to just, okay, look at these political candidates based on their qualifications and their goals, instead of listening to a synopsis of what the news says, I think elections would look a lot differently. You know, it's like, why just the fact, because I was also very anti-Trump at one point, and just that fact, it's like, well, how did I get to that point? It's, I was watching the news, and everyone around me was watching the news, and we determined that Trump was bad. It wasn't that we came to that conclusion. It's because
met the man.
I never met the man. We were told that Trump is bad. It's sort of like any of the conflicts that are happening, like, you know, anti-Russian stuff. It's like, we have to hate Russia because our government says we should hate it. But like, can we think about it on our own? Like, I find that a big problem.
Yeah, that's the truth. I remember I was so not political, but I knew that Russia was bad. That was a normal thing. If anyone brought up Russia, it's like, nah, Russia's our biggest enemy. That was just a thing, just in my head for no reason. And that clearly came from somewhere, because that wasn't my household. That was the news telling me that. And I was like, okay, so it's America, we hate Russia. Okay, so that's a part of my identity. Now I hate Russia. And that's how I was thinking. And now it's the exact opposite, where I don't even invest in these conversations like that. Like, I see people talking about Russia and all these things, and it's like, I don't really care. If I was to like be like Russia, Ukraine, like, and act like I care, even though I care about Ukraine because we're sending so much money over there and we're doing so bad, but like, in reality, I wasn't getting money from the government. None of that money is taxes. Like, I don't see anything being helped with any of this money that they're sending out of there or keeping in America. I don't see anything. So like, me being so tribal about these things, it just makes me feel stupid, because then if it does start an argument, someone's like, yo, you sound crazy, da-da-da. And then I'll be like, oh, well, I don't know what I'm talking about. All right, bye, see ya. That's just the end of the conversation. Like, why did I even post about it?
Yeah. And I mean, like, even just the fact, like, okay, like, we can look at a country and be like, okay, that is our enemy. Like, on a national level, that's our enemy. But people, they go deeper and they say, well, Russians are my enemy.
Yeah,
so like,
all the
literally
people in Russia.
that girl down the street, she's the enemy.
Yeah.
And
they
it's
got
the same
family over there.
It's the same thing.
They're
Like,
enemy.
look what happened when BLM started. White people are the enemy.
Yeah.
Why? Because they exist. What are you
Every
talking
single,
about?
no matter what class, no matter what like actual country your people are from, if you're white, you're inherently racist.
Yeah.
Just because George Floyd died from individual George Floyd died from an individual cop. Now that represents all white people and all black people. That's crazy. I don't understand how we got to this point. I don't.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense, you know, especially like if I think of the and some people, maybe they're oblivious to it, maybe they just don't care, don't think it's a big issue. But I mean, I'm assuming that you can sort of see the hate or demoralization directed at Christians, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's another reason I feel so strongly about actually vocalizing how I feel, because it's clearly an agenda. People who atheists, a lot of atheists, I won't say all atheists because I know some atheists, but a lot of atheists, they aren't, it's not that they don't believe in God, they just don't like God. It's like it's an actual hatred for God, and it's like clearly there's something else there. There's something deeper that you're not addressing, because if it was about not believing and all that, you wouldn't even worry about what Christians are doing because it's not affecting you. But instead, you want to destroy the institution of Christianity, which is very different of a feeling than atheism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I think also because you sort of alluded to it earlier, where you think and I agree with you. I think the solution to a lot of the problems that we see is coming to the understanding that, don't feel as though, like, what'd you say about someone shaming? I forgot what you said exactly.
Get over shaming. Don't worry about being shamed anymore.
Get over being shamed. So one of the things that, like, in regards to, like, the LGBT, it's like, okay, so you don't like when people call that particular lifestyle a sin, or you don't even like when people call it a lifestyle in any case. Yep. So if you don't like that, that means that you are always going to be at odds with Christians, and Christians are always going to be at odds with you, because it literally conflicts with that faith. And
That's on purpose.
And so if you think about it, and this might be another whiteboard live stream I have to do, it's like all of the social justice causes that come up from the left are in direct conflict with Christianity.
Yep, absolutely.
It just doesn't say it outright. Like, think of cancel culture. It's like, no, we're going to dig up old tweets. We're going to lambast you on social media. We're not going to forgive you because
never can come back.
Never can come back. And Christianity is the complete opposite. It's like, no, forgive your neighbor, love your enemies, pray for those that persecute you.
You be the judge and jury. That's how social justice works. You get to be the judge and jury, and no one else. Only that group gets to judge every other group.
Right. Yeah.
But it is in direct conflict with Christianity. I feel like they try to act like it's against, like, they try not to reference religion on purpose because they don't want it to seem like that, but it absolutely is. Yeah. And I remember when that was fine. Like, it would just be like, oh, these people are Christians and don't agree with us, and we won't even acknowledge them. It was like, oh, Bible, go to the South. A lot of people love God down there. We'll stay over here in these demonic cities in L.A. and New York City and Boston and just chill and not worry about these people. Now it's like, we need these people to hate themselves for being Christian to make them not want to be Christian anymore. It's a very different energy.
Yeah, totally. I saw something the other day, and it really got me thinking more about this sort of attack on Christians and how they're sort of coming at it from different angles instead of outright saying they're anti.
Content on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, for example, like, if you look at Biden doesn't know God. He claims that he's Catholic, but he's over here supporting trans rights. Yeah. Doesn't make sense. There's a conflict.
Post you made when he made the post about Muslims, and you saying, okay, now do this about Christians. That was the perfect post. Yeah. Perfect post, because when has he mentioned Christians in his whole entire presidency? Not once. Yeah. Even though there's plenty of people going at Christians. It's like, if it's at that high of a level, if it's in the government, like in the president, the person who's supposed to be the most powerful, it's an agenda. It's absolutely an agenda.
Right. So I saw this I saw this post the other day where someone took a photo of a billboard that had Trump on it. I don't know if you saw it, and they were equating him to Jesus. Did you see that?
I've seen a few people do that weirdness. I've seen that multiple. I haven't seen the billboard. That's crazy. But I've seen people make memes and, like, make tweets about it when he was getting indicted, and I'm like, yeah, he's not Jesus. He's not. But again, that's them trying to infiltrate conservatives. Like, conservatives are supposed to be God-fearing, and it's like, it's just less and less. I was just saying that to Mo right before this stream started. Every day I see someone who I'm like, oh, this person's conservative, so they believe in God, they're Christian. I see them saying some non-Christianness. I'm like, how is he a Christian? He was just for abortion, like, during the midterms.
Yeah. So let me just show this, and I had a thought to this, right? So this one was very disturbing to me. This is very disturbing to me.
What?
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
And my thought after seeing this is that I don't think a conservative made these billboards. My theory is that I don't think a Christian made these billboards. I think this was something that was made from the left, because then logically, if you associate Jesus with Trump, you can then say, let's go after these MAGA Christians. You can just put MAGA and Christianity as sort of like this all-encompassing thing. And so you're villainizing Trump, but you're also villainizing Christians if you put them in the same camp.
Yep. Absolutely. If everything Trump does is now represented in MAGA Christians, then absolutely,
Yeah.
everything he says and does, and then you can try to call out, even if no one. I've seen so many people who like know that Trump is probably a better answer than Biden, but still not following blindly, even though they claim that's what it is. Even though there probably is a bunch, but more and more, it's not as tribal as the left for sure.
Yeah.
But I could see it's like that Budweiser ad where they were like crybabies and they had the Budweiser beer next to it. Like that wasn't Budweiser who put that up, but it went viral the next day and everyone's like, Budweiser really calling their own audience crybabies, and it's like that clearly wasn't Budweiser.
Right.
But people fell for it. It's like you can just do whatever you want just to sow some kind of propaganda division. It's crazy.
Yeah. That's so Graham said that most of these Trump and Jesus comparisons are jokes. That may be true, but I hate them
Still
because
crazy.
people are gonna believe it. That's the thing.
Still crazy. I don't think they're all jokes. I don't. I've seen some people on Twitter, like before it became a meme, people were already saying it. Like maybe I'm just losing my sense of humor. Maybe I'm becoming a boomer because I don't know. It didn't seem funny to me.
Yeah.
And I laugh at any kind of joke. To me, it was just stupid.
Do you like? I don't know if you can relate to this, but one of the things that I really hate about how society is now is that, like, I used to always talk in like sarcasm. Like, I like sarcasm, I like jokes, I like trolling, and now it's like the lines are blurred, and I don't know who's joking half the time.
That's absolutely what's happening. Especially on the internet, words, like you're reading things, and people aren't good at like telling jokes, so it's like not clever. It's just supposed to be a joke, and and a lot of times they're not joking. I be taking things as jokes that aren't jokes. And it's like, I don't know. That's why I just do me and just stick with my humor because people are weird out here, man.
Yeah, they're really weird. We are
Reality
at an
is a
hour
joke.
and 14 minutes, by the way. Do you want to keep going for a little bit?
You can keep going, yeah. Whenever you want to wrap it up, I'm down. I'm telling
Okay. All right. Guys, got any more questions for Flawd? Drop them in the chat. I will ask. And we shall answer. Even if they're stupid questions, because I like those.
Me too. I can make an hour-long video out of a stupid question.
Yeah, that's good.
I never stop. I ramble. I have to control myself sometimes.
Yeah, you don't seem like it.
What? Did I ramble?
Yeah, you don't seem like you
I've
ramble.
been rambling this whole time.
That's not rambling. No. That's not rambling.
Every time I'm like, damn, what did she ask? Every single time I finish what I'm saying. What did
That's
she
called
ask
a brain fart, and I suffer from those as well. Okay. I'll be doing that at like mid interviews. Like I haven't been taking notes. Like before, when I used to have people on, I would take notes, and I was also smoking weed back then. So like my memory was just really shot.
Doubling down on it.
I was doubling down. So now it's like, okay, I don't smoke weed anymore, but every now and then I'll get a brain fart, and I'm like, what was I gonna say?
Yeah, that happens a lot. And then I'll figure out, oh yeah, and I'll just continue to ramble. It'll turn into another ramble session every time. That's why my streams are 5 hours.
Yeah, man.
It's crazy.
All right, so we have a question in the chat. I'm not going to put it up on the screen, but it's very just, maybe it's a genuine question, maybe it's antagonistic, I don't know. But Flawd, why did you do the tattoos on your face?
So these ones are recent. I just like for that reason, basically, for someone to be like, why would you do that? Because when I did it, it wasn't like a cool thing to do, and then all of a sudden all these rappers started doing it. But to me, it was originally just like, I'm that impulsive. I do impulsive things that are permanent because I don't know. It's like a part of my identity to just be ridiculous, no matter what. I'm less these days, but I still find myself like, let me just do this because most people would be like, what's wrong with this dude? Because I'm not connected to reality in that sense, like to society in that sense. Whatever people shouldn't be doing, like if LGBTQ tells me I can't do this, I'm gonna do it. If people tell me you can't say this word, I'm gonna say it. Like no matter what, like to an extent, I'm not gonna go ridiculous. But when it comes to me, like if things that I don't think are affecting others, I'll do it every time. Like my face tattoos can't be affecting other people because it's on my face. I get clowned all the time for it. So
I have another question. This is my question.
Okay.
So you said you do things on impulse. But what about if God says practice self-control?
I mean, I practiced. I've tried. I've tried. I practiced. I'm just not perfected it yet.
All right,
I'm
that's
still working
fair.
on it.
That's
But
fair.
yeah.
That's fair.
But I do know that it's probably not that good to continue to like mark up my body that God gave me. But it's like something in me. I don't know. Something in me just gets the tattoos. And I feel like, oh, if it says God bless and I get a cross, then it's still my identity, but it's just my beliefs as well. But I don't know. I probably should practice more self-control in reality. I'm not even gonna lie. And more than just that, because I'm not disciplined. I'm getting disciplined. I'm still working on it. But like, if I was more disciplined and had more self-control, I would be way further ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, at least you recognize it. Like self-control is something that I think a lot, like I still struggle with it too sometimes.
Yeah.
And also there are a lot of people that would debate whether or not tattoos are good in the eyes of God. Like I have tattoos, my husband has tattoos. I might get some more tattoos. And I think the intention behind it is really what's important. Like, am I getting this tattoo to flaunt it to other people, to like, you know what I mean? Like, or am I doing something to glorify God, which if I'm going to get something to glorify God, which probably be my next tattoo if I ever want to, because tattoos are expensive too. And I don't got that type of money anyway.
That's why mine are all just little ones. I don't have any big pieces because I ain't got that kind of money.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Let me look in the chat again. I think there was.
I seen someone saying, "When are you gonna twerk?" Which I'm not gonna do. So.
Oh man, are you an expert at twerking?
Not once.
Okay.
Not one time. They want me to be so badly in my chat, but not one time.
Yeah, no, I am not privy to this twerking movement. I mean, I've been going to the gym with my husband and we're trying to work on squats because I'm using the Smith machine, and he was trying to get me to do squats freestyle without like a barbell, and like my hips aren't moving in the way that it's supposed to function, and I'm over here getting frustrated, looking dumb in the middle of the gym. So, even if I wanted to twerk, that would never happen.
Your body wouldn't let you.
It wouldn't let me.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I probably could if I put some effort into it, but, I won't.
Man.
It's not my thing.
Yeah, right. Let's see. Let me, here's an interesting question. If Flawd could talk to himself at the point he was starting drugs, what might he say?
See, that is like a weird question because I know it was my decision, but I think like I have this something inside of me that makes me make the decisions that whether they're going to help or hurt in real time, they'll be the most helpful in the long term, because that's how it seems it's been for my whole life. Like while I'm making these decisions, something in me is like, I know I'm not supposed to be, like in my past when I made these decisions. But now, I don't think there would have been any other way for me to get to the point that I am right now in my head. Like as happy as I was, like I was on pills. I was on, like, before even on Percocet, I was on mental pills. I was on psych pills for no reason. Had no addiction, no nothing. It was just like I can't cope with life just for no reason. I don't even know what it was. Having breakdowns in parking lots and getting into fights with Mo, making her chase me across the city in a car, jumping through like backyards and trying to jump into rivers and all this. I was like in such a bad place, which I think led me to doing drugs, which I think led me to realizing that life could be way worse, which led me to appreciating what I have right now and what I could have. Like when I got off drugs, just getting off drugs was like the blessing to me. Everything else has just been extra blessings, but being like not being free of an addiction at that point was like, this is way better than anything else that I've ever been through, and I appreciate just not being addicted to drugs right now. And I think I don't know what I would tell myself because I wouldn't even know what to say because I was so ridiculous at that point. I had to go through the craziest spirals to get to where I'm at. I don't think I would have listened if I would have told myself something at that point.
Wow. So the other thing I didn't quite touch on directly in our conversation is like is depression. So is that something that you now in Christ you don't really struggle with, or
no,
yeah?
not a thing anymore. It's I've realized for me, like, and I was the same person who was like, you're not gonna tell me about chemical imbalances and all this. I have depression. I have bipolar. They told me I was. They told me I had PTSD. They like when they put me on SSI without even like giving me appointments, just from talking to like a counselor type of lady for one session. I was like, just told her my story, and she's like, yeah, you have this, you have this, you have this, you have SSI now. And I was like, I guess I'm really messed up. Started being on all these psych meds and all this, and it just made me like a zombie, and I just couldn't figure out how to be happy. But now it's like I'm in like this mind state where no, even if I am, sometimes I get low, you know what I mean? Like, and it's just like unmotivated maybe. But even then, I'm like, I'll thank myself if I do what I'm supposed to do right now, fight through whatever I have going on and do what I'm supposed to do. And by like a few minutes into it, I'm already out of that mindset. Just changing the way I address it when it shows up changes it completely. You know what I mean? It's like I don't think I have any type of depression or bipolar or any of these things that they claimed I did. It was a self-fulfilling prophecy at the time. I thought I was crazy, so they told me I was crazy. And it was like now I would have never thought that I'd be as well adjusted as I am right now without anything. It's like there's no way other than God. That's why I know, even let's say like if I wasn't a Christian and I was just like believing in God, like that right there to me is enough. If just believing in God could get me into that type of mind state, that's enough for me to dedicate myself to God. Just from believing, like even if it's all fake, if I was just believing and it made me feel better about life, that's enough. But how does just believing in something make you feel better about life? Like that is supernatural. There's something crazy there. And it's humans and God. It's a connection. It's like a battery.
Yeah, right. And I think because I touched on this on my video, is that when I came out and I said my depression is gone because of finding Jesus, a lot of people sort of looked at it as like a placebo, like, oh, it's not, it has nothing to do with God. It's just, and that's not the case. Like, I can't explain it. I just know that I was really depressed and really, really suicidal, and now I'm not. And there are some people that I've encountered that find Christ and they're still struggling with depression, but I find that those
they're not fully giving themselves over.
I was gonna say that, and that I don't believe we were meant to be depressed, and I think that a lot of the times from my experience and talking to other people that are sort of in the same boat, it's like they're still struggling with faith. Yeah. And like if I can give you an example, like back in January, I had taken a few months off from making content, and I was very anxious. Yeah. And this was after I already found Christ, but I was so anxious and I couldn't figure out why. And it was because I was still struggling with saying something that was going to upset my audience, instead of putting my entire faith in God and just saying, okay, I'm going to speak the truth, give the rest to him. He's going to handle the rest. Yeah. And once I leaned more into that, my anxiety went away.
You get comfortable. Comfortable because it's bigger than you at that point. You're a vessel at that point. That's how I feel. Like if I'm moving in harmony with my beliefs and everything I feel, then I like anxiety's gone. I'm like I had panic attacks, anxiety. Like that was another thing. I was on benzos before I was on Percocets because I was like I couldn't leave the house, couldn't go into stores. I had like, it was crazy. Mo would have to basically be like my connection to everything, my extension, because she was like, okay, I'll go into this store for you, I'll go into this place. If I had to talk on the phone to like a doctor or someone, she would have to do the talking for me. And it was just like I was just afraid of, and you know what's crazy is I think the real fear that I had was hurting other people. Like anything I say, I had such a doubt in the way that I spoke, in the things that I did, in my own decisions. I had such doubt in my own actions that I was like, everything I'm going to do is going to be wrong. And it just like super filled my head with any type of being social with anyone was like, I'm just about to mess this whole entire thing up. And it's like, what is even on the line besides like, there's nothing on the line. And I'm just stressing myself out. And it became this like weird, it just got worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I ended up being on Ativan for it, and then like it didn't help. If anything, it made it worse because then it was like if I didn't have that, then I'm gonna have anxiety. If I don't have the pill to fix it, then I'm definitely gonna have anxiety just because I don't have the pill. And it's like it led to panic attacks. End up in the hospital so many times, and they're like, "There's nothing wrong with you. Just calm down," basically. And now it's like moving in harmony with my actual beliefs. It's like it's night and day. I enjoy life, which is different. Before I was just existing. It's like I enjoy my life completely. Living in this 1-bedroom apartment, like my life is great because it's only gonna grow from here. That's how I feel.
Right.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Like so Brianna said in the chat a little bit earlier, I think I forgot where it was. So Brianna says, "Oh, I disagree, but I believe you're experienced Gothix," and then said, "It's like cancer. If someone prays for healing and it doesn't get healed, it doesn't mean they lacked faith. It's the same with mental illness."
Not depression.
I'm not sure if depression falls into that. Like, yeah,
It doesn't.
sometimes God says no, and people who have cancer, they don't get healed from cancer. But I think that depression is sort of like, I think of that passage in the Bible where it says, come to Christ and allow your mind to be renewed by him. And so that's what I think of. And again, I could be wrong, but I feel like
I think you're right about.
You think I'm
depression.
right?
Yeah, for
I don't know.
there is mental illness and chemical imbalances, but
Sure.
depression isn't one of them.
Yeah.
That just came out like not too long ago that they have no link to any of the medications they were giving for depression, for the chemical imbalance that they said was happening because of depression. It wasn't a thing. There's no proof that it actually was a thing. And after all this time, now they're like, we don't even know what causes depression. And it's like clearly, like it's not what you said it was. Maybe it's not as deep as you think it is. Maybe you should stop telling people it's something that they can't get over and see what happens.
I gotta look that
at
up.
least
I'm
give
curious.
the option to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, let me see. There were some other questions here. Ben, what led to the decision to remove the cussing from your vocabulary? Are you doing that? Is that you?
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm trying my hardest. Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. It's hard because as a rapper, like it emphasizes things perfectly. But my last 3 songs, I haven't put any swears in it, and I've said so much more. It's been my favorite things I've ever written. These last 3 things I wrote, and didn't say one curse word through the entire thing. So it's like, I don't think it's necessary. I think I'll be a better talker even if I don't use words like that as a crutch. If I have to say what I mean and think about what I'm saying, and get that emotion out, like actually channel the emotion through very well articulated words, that's when I think I'll be what I'm supposed to be as a content creator. Because swearing is just like it doesn't help. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't help anything at all besides bringing an audience of people who are comfortable with swearing, I guess. But like I always have to find something to work on as well. Like I don't like just being like, okay, this is great, so now I'm chilling. And it's like if I know I still got flaws, I'm gonna try to go at each one as if I individually if I have to, and that's just what I'm on now.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And I'm totally in alignment with you there because like I've noticed that like if you just take a rap song, for example, and you listen to it, it's like F this, F that, like everything is just swearing. And then you listen to the censored version and like you can't even hear the song. It's like
there's no words the whole time. It's like what did he just say? You can't even get a thought out. I hate that, man. I can't stand that stuff.
And I think honestly, like I have a whole playlist of rappers where they don't swear at all, and it's like lyrically, it's like wow, this is so refreshing, it's so deeper. You have to get more creative with it, and I think that just swearing is cheap. Like in terms of creativity, it's cheap.
Yeah, it is.
Sometimes I'll slip up, especially in my family. The shit word is something that it just my family is always like
a lot. Here. It's bad.
So like I try to catch myself and I try to make an effort to not swear, but sometimes it comes up. I think, someone that can have a conversation or make a song without that, it's like, wow, I have so much respect for you.
Especially like what I've noticed when you're like, if I'm in a song and I want to say I want a sentence to hit, I'll just throw an F word in there, so then you could tell like I mean what I'm saying, and I'm maybe there's some anger in there, maybe there's some like anarchy type of energy in there. But now I realize when I'm not swearing, I literally have to break down that that's what I'm trying to get out there. So it comes up, it's like it trades one bar for like 4 bars, because I'm like really trying to let you know why I feel what I would have just said F this before. Now it's like, this is why I'm saying that. It makes you more creative. It does. Because you have to get that same emotion out in a different way, you know?
Right.
Or the same message out in a different way.
Yeah. So one word that I like to replace is dookie. You know, I've just been I just say dookie. I think it sounds more hilarious too.
I said dookie. I said dookie. Dreads. In a song, I said that.
I love it. I love it. Okay. This might be a little bit of a personal question, but Flawed, when is the wedding?
I have to propose first, which I have to be able to afford a ring. But it's coming. Before I said I was never going to get married, but it's again. So Quarter Black Garrett, we drove with him to Vegas to go to the Friday Night Tights meetup, and we drove like 20 hours in the car, 19 hours in the car, and he was just talking about his wife and how supportive she is and all these things, and like it just like I was like, I feel like that's similar to what I have with Mo. So like in my head, I would love to be able to call her my wife, but I have trust issues. But I have to get over that, because it's limiting me in not marrying, but like that type of mindset of not being able to trust anyone outside of me, which the world is crazy, but it's stress. That's stress sitting there like, is this person really here for this when they're sitting there every day? It's like that can only be a self-fulfilling prophecy if I'm just like, nah, I don't trust it. And she'll be like, okay, well, so this guy trusts me. Like, this guy may or something. So it's like, and I just know I shouldn't be living like trying to have a baby with a chick that I'm not married to. It doesn't make any sense. Yeah.
I love the self-awareness.
Yeah.
I would also add the fact that, you know, she helped you when you overdosed. I think that says something.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Her parents let us live in the basement, like all this. It's even crazier than that, because when I was on all these psych meds and going through all this stuff, she never left my side. She was like, she would go through all the motions that I needed her to go through. Oh, I'm running down the street. She would be there like, you ready to get in the car and let's go? Like, what are you doing? Can we go? And never like made me feel, never shamed me for it, nothing. She's never shamed me for nothing in 14 years. Not one thing. And I've made plenty of bad decisions involving her. And not one time has she ever been like, you're trash. You're a terrible person. Just every time it's just support and love. And it's like, if that's not enough, I don't know what is, you know? Like I'm paying attention now.
Yeah.
What's happening.
So Mo is a Christian as well, too. Is that how you say your name, Mo?
Yep.
Yeah.
We spell it wrong, but yeah.
Yeah. So did she become a believer around the same time?
Yeah. Like
nice.
we went into it together basically, because we were both strung out and addicted to fentanyl and needed like some type of something to believe in, because we had nothing at all, like nothing going for us. It was no longer, we were legit, when people say rock bottom, that's where it was. We had couldn't go any further than down 6 feet. So we kind of had and we had been broken up for like a month before that. Then we came back together like, yeah, we need to figure this out. This is not what it's supposed to be. We ain't living right. Yeah.
So there were a few follow-ups to this. We have Brianna that says, nice, I love self-awareness too, get married. Graham says, gotta get married, Flawed. Your trust issues do not override God's command to us.
That's exactly what it is. That's exactly in my head. That's a big
Graham
reason.
says, marry that girl, Flawed. Okay. You know what? I'm gonna echo that right here. I'm gonna add this. Ready? He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord.
So it can
get married.
It can only go up. See, that's like, I kind of think like this is, like I said, if I hadn't gone through everything I went through, I wouldn't be in this mind state. It was all to lead. I feel like God knew what my potential was, you know, obviously, and was like, this dude, he's a tough cookie. We're going to have to crack him, you know?
Yeah.
Because at the time I was going through all that, I was like, this is like, I'm living in hell is what it felt like while I was going through all that. And it's like, it's crazy because now it's the exact opposite.
Love it.
There was like I remember being in bed, me and Mo like sick, like God, if you help me find the strength to get past this right now, I will get my life better. That's another reason I make promises to God and I can't just not keep them because those are not like there's just nothing you can do against God. I can't be like I got you. Like, no. So
Yeah.
It's like when it's a process. It's a process, but it was what it was supposed to be, I think.
Nice. There was another question here from Bold Reflections. Flawed, your thoughts about how the Black community used to be very God-centered in the 50s and how it is now?
Taking the father out of the household, breaking up the nuclear family. You know, I think the school system, it's all takes part. And then entertainment a lot because we worship basketball players and rappers and all these godless entities in the Black community because it's the quickest way to get money and be out of poverty. You see people be just like you, start rapping and become affluent. You see people start playing sports, become affluent, and like all of those lifestyles are fast and like godless, I say. Even though there's some who still like do what they're supposed to be doing, but majority of them are not that. Majority of them are lost because they have no father, and I'm sure those people that are doing what they're supposed to do probably had a father in their life because if you ain't got that guidance to like slow you down when you're about to make these wrong decisions, that's going to happen for the rest of your life until you crash.
Right.
You got to have that restraint, and that's what a father does. You know, my mother let me do whatever I want. Like I told you, she was giving me drugs at the same time, getting high with me. That would have never been the case had my father been around, you know, because my father was strict. Even though when he used to come around, he used to be like, do what you're supposed to be doing. I'd be like, get out of my face. You're not my dad. You're never around. That's how I would think. But like, had he been there and like I couldn't just say that and he would just go home, he had to live in the same house as him, that would have never came out of my mouth. I wouldn't, because I would have to deal with that. You know?
Yeah, and I think you sort of just touched on something too. I think a lot of people think that giving their kids everything or approving of literally everything is loving, and I think that's not loving. Like you got to set boundaries, and you gotta.
Kids want boundaries.
Yeah, it's sort of like the whole like being tolerant to everything. It's like no, some things you should be intolerant to because what are the boundaries for that?
You'll drive off a cliff.
Yes.
There's a guardrail there so you don't go off the cliff. You need the bound. Humans are just reckless. Like naturally, we got to figure it out. Like from experience, you can learn from the experience of the people over you, and your parents are like the ones who are going to be the most real with you and treat you like supposed to be, at least. Majority of them will be the ones who have caring boundaries and don't want you to drive off a cliff. So they're going to put boundaries that they really think are going to protect you over the world who sees you as a number, sees you as just another statistic that you probably may be or may not be. They don't really care, but they're going to treat you like you are that statistic. And it's like, of course they don't want you to have boundaries. They gives them jobs. People that paramedic got to drive over, that cop got to write the report. Like all that keeps everyone, the judge got to find someone guilty or innocent. Everyone got to show up to work. So of course they don't want you to have boundaries. Look at Chicago.
Oh, yeah, Chicago. Yeah. Oh, man. All right, we got some other super chats here from Metastep. When is the Tom McDonald collab coming? Is there a collab in the works?
That's not a thing. He's going to collab with Ben Shapiro before he collabs with me.
Oh, man. That'd be interesting.
Maybe one day, if I can afford him, he's my friend, but like I would never ask him to do anything. Like he makes a career out of this. That's how I think. Like if I was a rapper and I was making millions of dollars because I built in a platform for myself, there's no way I'm just gonna have some dude who reacts to my music be like, "Hey, you're good, but you want to get on my song?" Like, nah, I would never. Because you got to build it out. I would want to get to that level before and then be like, now you see how this works?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's inspiring to see this dude do that. I would never try to get him on a song yet.
Awesome.
Maybe in the future.
Let me see. Unhung Hero says the science. Yeah, I got some weird names.
So wild. Is that Camelot's other account?
Oh, man.
Camelot.
Unhung hero. The science on depression, namely the role of serotonin in clinical depression, was debunked. The primary treatment for CD is SSRIs, lately useless.
Ugh. SSRIs. Yuck. I may be good enough, but I'm not established enough. Meta, my bad.
Ruger, F Money. Who's F Money? Is that you? F Money.
Flawed, maybe. No one calls me that. I thought you were saying like F Money.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, he's saying Flawed, I think.
I've seen your reaction vids, and to see you now is amazing.
Bro, you know what's crazy about that? Is I started doing reactions, and now you were the first person to interview. So you're the first person to ask me to come on your channel. At that point, I was like, that was like what made me be like, damn, I really might be a content creator. When you, someone that I want to say I'm a big fan of. I'm not going to say any crazy, I almost said worship, but it was a crazy, it's not what it was. I was a fan. And for you to be like, hey, you want to come on the show? I was like, that was like one of the things that made me feel like this may be something. And then Adam Krigler did that. And now on the 18th, I'm going to be on Alex Stein's show.
Sheesh. Yeah. Yo, Alex Stein show. I saw a clip the other day.
Wild.
I was like, what is going on? I saw the one with the banana. Like,
bro, that's what I just watched last night. I'm like, yo, this is crazy right now. But
I'm like, I don't know. Like someone over at the Blaze asked me if I wanted to come back on and go on that show. I was like, yeah, I'll do it. But this was like a few weeks ago. So I don't know if they're like, I'm afraid, but I'll
honestly,
do it.
I just want to see what's going to happen because he had Charleston White on there, like tasing him and putting him in handcuffs and talking about bringing back the slavery. It was like,
oh
crazy.
man,
he's wild. He's like the Blaze's Eric Andre.
But you know what? I like comedy, or even if it's cringe comedy. I think it shakes things up because like with all of the craziness from the radical left, I get this sense that a lot of people who took the red pill are sort of like disgusted by any sort of weirdness.
Yeah, you should see the comments on that video. I reposted it. Nothing but being like, what is wrong with this guy? He's humiliating him.
It's like
it's a joke.
Well, that's the thing. I think people need to differentiate. It's like, no. This isn't a lifestyle. Like we're not. This is not
He's
something
not doing
that
this outside of the studio.
Right. This is a joke. This is cringe humor. Yeah. You know, it's like when I act. Some days when I come on stream, I'm mad hyper and I'm just acting weird. I start dancing, and people will ask me, they're like, "Is she drunk? Is she smoking again?"
It's like, nah. I'm
chilling.
That's the thing. You get it. I've seen some videos with you milli rocking and stuff, and like. That's my type of energy. It's the same type of thing we be doing. We don't have no type of. Sometimes I'm chill, but a lot of times I'm just ridiculous. Like majority of our streams is me calling Mo a racist or something. Like it's not even
as you should.
Yeah, yes. Right. Because she is. She's big racist. Like, but that's like what the most awkward things. Just going at the most awkward things is my favorite thing to do. You know, because she has a big head too, and I point it out all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Well, I mean,
my head's bigger, but her head looks bigger. Perceived bigness.
This must be a guy thing then, because my husband says the same thing about me, and I got a 5 head.
It's just you got to keep her down. You got to make sure she ain't trying to leave for no one else. Like, nah, no one wants that big head. That's how Just joking.
Damn. Oh man. Let's see. There was one here from Ben. Marry that girl, then tell Tom to catch up. All right.
Yeah, they should get married too. You're right. Tom and Nova should definitely be married.
Let's see. Oh, why is he sticking a banana in the dude's mouth with his fingers and the guy is sucking the banana in?
Yo, it's crazy. Over and over. Wild.
I can't.
And then Ian's sitting there like, okay, this is cool.
Man, that's
hilarious.
Funny. It's a weird, it's weird because on the one hand, you'll hear the left that is so adamant about offensive content. Like, this is offensive, it's outdated, that's something of the past. But then they'll sort of try to normalize things that have historically been unnormal, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very weird that this weird trend that we're in. It's like where are the lines of like what is and isn't offensive? Like I miss the days.
Be nothing.
Right. Well, I miss the days like when people say to me,
For art.
if they watch like an old clip of an old show and it has some really racist stereotypical jokes, they'll say, "Oh, we can never make something like this." And I'm like, "Why?"
You can though. Yeah.
You can.
That's
Do
exactly
it.
why they try to shame you for it. That's why they say you're a bigot, because they want you not to. But why would someone's video that they don't have to watch, they don't have, has nothing to do with them, these people have their own audience, why is that offensive to the left if that you swear that this audience is your enemy? Like, clearly they're not going to make content for you, so really they're just trying to control both sides of the aisle. And it's like, make your content, make whatever content you want to make, and if people like it, they'll watch it. If they don't, they don't. And that's how things work.
Yeah.
If you're not actually like even if it's totally offensive and you hate it, like, you can have a voice about that, but they be trying to like silence people. Like, you can't even say it, which is never. That's how you crash something, because you need to go through it in order to know that it's not going to be an issue. Because if we know what triggers you, then it's going to be a trigger war all day long. I'm just going to keep triggering you over and over and over again. You could get over it and it would hit less, which would make them not do it. That's probably the better way to do it. Desensitize yourself to someone else's, what they're trying to offend you with. That's like, I just don't get when people go after comedy, because comedy is supposed to be ridiculous.
Right.
It's supposed to be. I watched the Chappelle Show. That was crazy. Black Klan member, like,
oh, so good. So good.
That's a legendary sketch. Like, if we were go down that road, we'll never have anything like that again.
Yeah.
It's like crazy to me.
Yeah. All right. So now I have a really serious question. Okay. Because I saw Ruin Leon type this in the chat, and I have to get your opinion on this.
Okay.
Are you going to watch the new Little Mermaid?
I wasn't. But if you got me tickets, I'm going. If you got me tickets, I'm there, bro. I definitely wasn't going to.
Oh man, yeah, I saw some trailers of it. I'm like, this looks objectively bad.
Like a horror movie.
Yeah,
so dark. Flounder looks like a demon.
Right, and even like Sebastian, he's
he looks crazy.
Like, what is going on?
I don't get it, man. I don't. It's like, I remember you see something like A Bug's Life. You remember that movie? Like, the bugs, they have like a look that, even if when I see an ant on the ground, I don't think it looks cute, but the Bug's Life ants are like, oh, this is adorable. They don't care anymore. They're like, we want it to look realistic, even though it's all fake. We don't want you to be entertained by it. I don't know what they're actually trying to do. Like, who are they trying to appeal to when you make a movie look bad?
I don't know. Well, you know what? I have a theory. And I sort of talked about this. I made a video about the hype for the live action Little Mermaid like a couple of months ago, and how people were ready to co-sign on it. And my position is that politics is downstream from culture. So if you can sell something to people when it comes to culture, you can sell people something when it comes to politics, just using the same template and applying it somewhere else.
Yep.
And so I look at it as sort of like a social experiment or a compliance experiment to see how many people will co-sign on something, even though it's terrible.
That's
it's terrible.
Great point.
Right. So if they're gonna watch it and they're gonna support it, and yes, queen, just because it's a black actress, then you can take that and say, okay, vote for this person. Forget about the policies. Forget about her values. She's black. Yes, queen.
That's facts. That's a great point. I didn't even think about it like that. Like, it's purposely, it's like a psyop, basically, to get people to just follow trash no matter what. If they give you trash and they can get you to follow it, then they can get you to follow anything. That's true, man.
Right.
I didn't even think that, because I'm just thinking you would want to make money, right? But like, nah, they don't even care. They're risking it just to defeat like who they hate. That's crazy. Yeah.
I think they're losing money, but I don't think money is the agenda here. I think it's more just like, they got enough. Damn.
That was a great point. I didn't even think about that.
Oh, well, thank you.
I'm just like expanding on that in my head. That's like probably happening a lot right now.
Oh man. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I think we're going to wrap it up in a little bit. So if anyone has any final questions, leave them in the chat, and I'll ask them. But I want to ask Flawd, if you could recommend like 3 things that people could do to make the world a better place, what would it be? What are 3 actions they can do right now?
So I'll make it like generic instead of like making it niche, because I know what I do, but I think there's something that everyone can do regardless of what you believe in, regardless of what you like, whatever you follow, anything. And I think part of it is not bowing to shame, like allowing yourself to trust that you're not trash and that other people projecting that on you, don't let that actually affect you as a person, because obviously some people will care and give you criticism and say things that they think, and you can consider that. But when you know someone's wrong, or if you feel like what you're doing isn't wrong and someone's telling you it's wrong, consider it, but like don't allow them to just beat you down into submission, because that's what's going to happen. The Bible said that's what's going to happen. You're going to get persecuted. So you should really think about that before you just like allow other people to control your brain like that. So stop letting yourself be shamed. Stop lying. First of all,
oh, that's a big one.
I think that's another thing that like sows just nothing but distrust and like craziness into everybody, because it makes the world like survival of the fittest, which it is. But if it wasn't for deception, we could probably not be in such a controlled state right now. If it wasn't on our own level deceiving each other, like, because obviously we know the government will propaganda and use all that, but like people to people are just trying to use each other and deceive each other to get ahead, and it's like no one wants to see other people win because they think other people are trying to deceive them, and it's like it just compounds into keeping people down and keeping the rich and powerful, basically, and the people in control, and don't believe in depression.
Ooh,
Yeah.
all right. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, basically what we covered during the stream.
Yeah. Watch it on repeat, guys.
Yeah.
All right. True. I love that.
And actually, let's take out.
You got another one?
Don't believe in depression. Let's add accountability. Take accountability. That's actually way more important. I think that is probably the most important.
I would agree with you. Yeah. I think so. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. We got a few questions here. How many children are you planning on making? We need men to step up. 6? Are you serious?
Yeah, Mo wants 6. She's been saying that since day one. Since day one. And
how old are you?
I'm 33.
Well, you better get married.
Yeah, no, that's the plan.
You have a lot of work to do.
That's the plan. We're about to rush through it because she's 30. We're about to just start pumping out.
Oh man. Okay. Let's see. You're funny.
Just saying.
We got Immortal Legend. I would love to see a documentary of you two and others who have come to Christ in the last 3 years. Graham, get on it.
Gothix will holler at her people, bro. She got the documentaries.
Oh man.
That's not mine. That's not me.
Oh man. Well, speaking about documentary, guys, don't forget to go to lore.tv, link on the bottom right there. Subscribe to the mailing list to know when the documentary gets open for funding, because it's got to get funded, because we had no money to even make the documentary, so we got to get some of that back before we release it.
And then put promo, right? Go hard for it.
Yes, we got a promo. We got to market it.
That costs money. That's the most expensive.
That costs money. I might reach out to some content creators and see if they can react to some new trailers when they drop.
I will.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge.
I will. I didn't know if you wanted me to, because I was like, I know you may want the views, so I was like,
no, I want everyone. I want everyone to react.
To it.
Yeah,
okay, word. Because I was gonna ask you, but I was like, she's big time. I'm not gonna ask her.
No. Well, we got a new trailer coming out soon, so I think people will like it.
Hell yeah.
Let's see. Oh, here's a good one. What was your biggest obstacle to turning to Christ, and how can Christians learn from it?
I think the main part is like what I already said, was not feeling comfortable being vocal about it. Like, even though it's been the thing that is like the most prominent in my life, it's the thing I was least vocal about. Everything else was like accountability and all these things. But like the biggest thing I truly believe is that the only reason I was able to see what I needed to do was because God guided me through that, because it's literally been the quickest turnaround ever for anything I've ever seen in my life. Like, from 1 year being overdosed to the next year, like having my own apartment. And it was like, it was the exact opposite, because before I was on drugs, I was on SSI, couldn't even afford nothing, had nothing going on. And all of a sudden I just had ambition, just like to just do better when I should have felt like I had no chance to do anything because it was so late in my life. But instead, it was just like I just didn't doubt. I just had faith, and it kept me going. That's the biggest thing, was actually acknowledging it and being vocal about it. And like I just think it all came together to create a recipe for success.
All right.
But the main thing is I was being too quiet about it.
Got you.
And then I had music. I was swearing all through it, doing all this stuff. And then I put out Grateful. Put out Grateful and just that video. And like a bunch of content creators I love and respect were like, this is amazing, and amplified it to a crazy degree. And it's like, that's the first song I've ever made that was specifically just about God, which usually wouldn't appeal to on a scale. But like, everything just happened perfectly. I'm in the right position.
Yeah.
It's wild.
It's wild. Oh, here's one from Graham. My question for you, Flawed. Do you have any Christians that you are in community with out there in, what do you say, that Tejas?
Texas. You mean Texas.
Texas?
Tejas. Nah, not really. Like, just the people. I don't really deal with people out here. We're like family. I just talk to most family out here. I have some friends, but it's just, I'm too close to Austin, which is people just, they're the exact opposite of me out here. Every time I talk to someone, they're like pro-abortion. It's like, we can't even get through a conversation. We're talking about dogs, and you're talking about abortion and dating. I don't even know this. That's like, that's every conversation out here. It's crazy. But yeah, I have like most family who are very religious, and like we get to talk about it and have our meetings basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think that is really it from what I can see in the chat. There was some other questions, but we kind of already touched on them already. But yeah, man, I had a blast chatting with you. This was great.
Yeah,
Thank
this was
you.
great. I had a great time.
Yeah. What do
Thanks
you?
for having me on.
Absolutely, anytime. When? What do you got going on now? Like any new projects?
So I'm working on music a lot. I'm working on a lot of music, but other than that, I'm trying to like turn my channel into like not a variety channel, but like a variety stream channel with music reactions as well. Like branch off and turn into more of a non-political thing and just like talk about. I want to really lean into like addiction, because there's a lot of people who I didn't realize were actively in addiction in my chat, and like have told me that they stopped doing drugs and are clean now, just based off of us just being around and having the conversations that we have. And like I want to start bringing other people in and having basically like groups, Discord groups and things like that, where we do it live and try to reach as many people as we can with it, because I think it's a blessing that we're even able to talk about it. There's not enough people who are on the other side talking about it and actively, like, we're deep into fentanyl and every other kind of drug and being open about it. And like, I think we're in a privileged position to be able to speak to people who have gone through the same thing. And so I shouldn't waste the opportunity. I shouldn't like squander it, because I think it has something to do with my greater purpose here.
I love that.
So yeah, that's what I want to start working on. Also, I'm gaming on Rumble a lot. I play a lot of games on Rumble basically every night. Been playing a lot of Fortnite. You be gaming?
I be gaming. I haven't gamed in a while, but
I ain't seen you game in so long.
Fortnite, I don't know about that.
What do you play? What do you play? Fortnite's fire, first of all. I'm so sick of hearing people say Fortnite's bad.
No, stop being a sheep, okay?
Everywhere I go, everyone hates Fortnite.
It's just, I just suck at it. I just the building. I just can't.
No, you don't build. I don't build.
Just run and just get shot.
Yeah, I don't play. I will never play build mode. I play non-build mode. It's just like regular run and get shot. You'll do the shooting. You're nice. You know how to game.
Yeah, I like shooter games. Battle Royale really isn't my thing, but I'm down to try really any game. But Battle Royale, I can't do it, man.
This is what I'll do. We will link up and we'll play some Fortnite and really play it and get you to enjoy it.
You're gonna carry me.
Yeah,
there's no other option.
For sure. For sure. I got a few creators who play it. Like on Rumble, it's kind of like it's the wave again. It's coming back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want to have like a whole community thing with a bunch of creators where we have like a tournament for money or for some kind of prize or something. I don't know.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's fun. It's a fun game if you don't have to build. Building is terrible. It's a terrible version of the game.
All right.
What game do you play though?
I play a little bit of everything. What I stopped because I
You
haven't.
don't play Fortnite.
I don't play.
Everything.
Well, that's not everything. You know, Fortnite is exempt from this conversation.
Fortnite's
Okay,
everything to me.
it's not. Oh man, no. Like I love horror games, but my game that I haven't beat, what I was just playing, was Atomic Heart, and I really like it. It reminds me a lot of like, oh, it's so good. Have you ever played BioShock?
Yes.
Okay, it's sort of like BioShock. It's got that same like gritty feel to it.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that. I was on a Dead by Daylight streak for a while.
You want to play that? We can play that.
You play that?
Yeah, I played it. Well, I'm not great at it. I've played with Darth Call. He's great at it.
Are you killer or survivor?
Survivor.
Yeah, I'm a killer.
Of course. Makes sense.
What does that even mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, no, that makes sense. You hate Fortnite, you're a killer. Yeah, it all goes together. I get it now. I get it.
Yeah. Okay. And Leon actually bought me a Switch. And
You got
so
Switch too?
Yeah, he got me a
Mo
Switch.
got Switch too.
Okay, and so I got Mario Party, I got Mario Kart.
You have Super Smash Brothers?
No.
You should get that.
Yeah. Okay. So you really want me to be bad at games?
Well, I'm not good either. That's why I'm saying you should get it. I have no one to play with since I've bought the game, so I just want you to get it so we can get good together.
Okay.
Mo won't play with me. Mo's like, she's a gamer, but she's not a gamer. She'd rather sit there and like paint her nails.
Damn, you criticize her hobbies and you criticize her forehead.
She has
That's
a huge
crazy.
head. She paints her nails, bro. Like I'm sick of it.
That's crazy. Oh man.
Don't get that game, Gothix. Don't listen to Leon. What do you mean? Why not get it? That's a great game. Why? Why not? But we could play Mario Party or like Mario Kart. I feel like a lot of people play Mario Kart, which I'm not good at.
Yeah, I mean, I suck at it too, but
okay. Well,
all right, yeah, I'll send you my little code.
Okay.
And we'll sync up.
All right.
But yeah, I had a blast chatting, guys. If you want to check out Flawed, peep the description for his links. He's on YouTube, he's on Rumble. Follow him on Twitter. And if you enjoyed the stream, do me a solid and hit the like and subscribe button. If you're watching on Rumble, hit that like button. If you're not watching me on Rumble, you should be following me on there too, because
I didn't know you were on Rumble. That's crazy. I'm gonna.
That a lot of people do.
Yeah, I had no idea. I thought
I'm trying to promote it more because I see just people getting banned for everything on YouTube. It's crazy.
And on Rumble, they do Rumble raids, bro, and like they'll randomly just bring multiple people to your stream, and people will grow your channel. It's been happening for like 2 weeks now.
Good for you. Good for you.
It's dope, man. Steve will do it. Was there? It's crazy. You should. Yeah, you should be a lot more active on there.
Cool.
Yeah. They should pay me for saying that, but yeah.
Do you have 2 channels on Rumble?
So I have an account, which they didn't tell me was different. So I had an account, and then I was posting all my content to that, and they're like, your account doesn't show up in the search, so you have to make a channel on your account and then stream and post from that channel. But really, streaming is what Rumble is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think I did
this. Setup.
I did the same thing. Like, so I have I got a Gothix channel on Rumble, and then I have a Gothix gaming channel. I don't know if it's relevant. Should I just condense it? Like, I don't. Do you condense?
So if it's the account, right?
Yeah.
If the Gothix is just your account, the Gothix gaming is where you should be putting stuff. But you can do both. What ends up happening is if you post it to the first one, you're gonna have to go through and like actively move it to your second one in order to get as many views as it could, like to show up on the front. That's
interesting.
Okay. Yeah, they gotta fix that.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not necessary to do that. But yeah.
All right. Well, in any case, I love your face, man.
Thank you for having me on. You already know how I feel about you and your content. And tell your husband I said what's up.
Bruh, I'm gonna tell him. Everyone else, thank you so much for hanging out. And I will talk to you next time. Goodbye.